Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to FILMspiration, the place where filmmakers come to get inspired. My name is writer-director Edgar Ibarra. Let's get down to business. The third time's a charm. I'm trying to get Miss Sally Shamrell on the Facebooks here, and I feel like the old-time news people. Oh, hello. Basically, okay. So let's go back to last week. Here it is again. As watching, bring them on camera. All right, Sally, here we go. I'm gonna bring you on camera. I think this might work because it's phone friendly since we live in a. Oh my God. It works. Hi, Sally. How are you?
Thank God technology
Right?
hasn't ruined both of us.
Yeah, no, you know what? A lot of times, most of the time that I've had with the success on, interviewing people on FILMspiration, it's usually been somebody on their phone. And so,
Yeah,
I'm really cool. I'm really happy we were able to make it happen. How you doing, Sally?
I'm good. Number one, that is it. It's the phone. I mean, I have a Mac, and which is
Yeah.
totally compatible with my iPhone, but I don't know, for some reason it just didn't like Facebook Live split screen with you in Tucson.
You know what? So sometimes like technology is just a whole lot, the smaller, simpler version is
I
just a
know.
whole lot better sometimes. So Sally, I was explaining to everyone last week I put out a
Oops.
post just out of curiosity. I
Hi.
thought I'd just throw that out there to everyone in the acting community, actors and actresses. I posted, what are some of the challenges you're seeing out there, with regards to the film industry, either, in LA or either at the independent grassroots level. And I expected and would have been very grateful with like two or three answers. And I got like 10 or 11 people, one of which you were. And so, but your answer was very unique because I never heard of anything like this brought to my attention. So, Sally, go ahead and, well, first off, before we go to that, as we were previously stating, oh, and I almost strangled myself with the cord right
I know.
now. Sally, so for those of us who, or for everyone out there in FILMspiration land who might not be familiar with you, give us a little bit of your background, who you are, your foundation, etc., how you are, how it is that you are out in LA.
Sure. So I don't even know if you know this, but I grew up in Bisbee, Arizona. Uh,
Really?
yeah, actually, I grew up closer to Naco. Our family home was near Naco. And
Okay.
I saw on Facebook that you were in Bisbee recently. So I was like, oh, I wonder if Edgar knows I'm from Bisbee. um, but I went to the University of Arizona, and, the big, thick catalog when it's time to pick your major, I was thumbing through it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just went to U of A because I wanted to be a baton twirler, and
Hmm.
I made it on their twirling line. And I found media arts in the
Mm.
catalog. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And my dad, the Marine, said, next semester you'll pick a real major. And
Ah, okay.
I think of all the kids in my family, I'm the only one that's actually working in the field that I studied in college.
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully my dad is proud of that. And he just wanted, like you, I've always wanted a real challenge. And so the first job that I went for was, hi Kathy. Oh, hi
Hi, Kathy. Hi,
Isaac.
Isaac. How you
Oh,
doing?
there's my cousin Tony.
Hi,
Tony.
cousin Tony. How are you?
Um, so I wanted to be a sports anchor.
Really?
And yeah, it was
Nice.
at a time when there weren't very many sports anchors. I mean, it was shortly after Connie Chung was the first female anchor of a network nightly news broadcast.
Hmm.
So made it to Yuma for a little while, and it's all small markets. Sometimes your tenure there ends weird with a new boss man that comes in, and then suddenly there's a whole new crew, and you're back in Tucson waiting tables. And so then I started working at KVOA. I loved KVOA. I know that's where you are now, Edgar.
Yep.
And Kathy Batby is our fearless leader, the news director there.
Love
And
KVOA as well.
I know I mean, I loved when I got on board there because of all the awards that photographers won.
Mm.
Besides, I know there was one station in Denver that was just like the place for photographers to go.
Hmm.
And, locally, that was KVOA. I mean, we had so many amazing. Isaac Salazar was my first mentor. I mean, I felt like storytelling came a little more naturally, but Isaac made me see what being in news was in regard to showing pictures, telling stories with pictures. And so, I love that about news. But, after 8 years at KVOA, I just, again, wanted another challenge. And so I had a co-anchor, Frank Field. We went out to breakfast. I don't know if it's still there, Mother Hubbard's on Grant Road and First Avenue.
I I
It's a
believe it
diner.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so too.
I believe it is.
But Frank was like, what else would you like to do? What do you like about being a reporter? And I told him, storytelling, meeting people, I felt like I had a lot of empathy. So if I covered crime stories and talked to victims, I really felt like I wanted to be the one to show that we have compassion. We're not just talking heads and people showing up on breaking news scenes, vultures.
Mhm.
And so I loved covering crime in that sense, but also just the performance aspect of getting to a breaking news scene and suddenly, oh yeah, this is what I know. Here we are. He said, I said, I would have loved to have become an actress. And he said, why don't you become an actress? And I said, I would love to. And he looked at me and he goes, why don't you become an actress? And it reminds me
Mm.
of a line. My husband's in the background. He's going to say, "Oh my gosh, I've heard this story a million times." But the Eagles song, "Already Gone." There's a
Yeah.
line in it that says, "So oftentimes it happens. We live our lives in chains, and we never even know we have the key." And I just, we put up our own walls. And so I just realized, like, I started poking around and how would I become an actress? And I took a class at Pima while I was still reporting. And Chris Wilkin, I think, was his name. And it's just fun. It's just inspiring. And it's a new way of storytelling.
Hmm.
Film. I mean, I can't believe how the transition from news, and you must experience this as a director, the transition from news to filmmaking it's just a marriage. It's slightly different.
What
And
what's what's funny and what I can add to that is that a lot of the talents and skills and the autonomy, especially the autonomy that I've had to develop over the years, that's been required of me to develop over the years in the news industry, easily and seamlessly has been able to transfer on over to the film world, and it's actually been very, very, very helpful to be able to to bring that on over to film. And so basically through that autonomy, you're able to be more efficient, more productive, and you have a better grasp and feel of what it is that you're trying to give life to, the story that you're trying to make come together, at least when not, obviously not from the acting perspective, but still, close enough. But you're right. I mean, like a lot of it transfers over. A lot of it does transfer over.
oh yeah. I'm seeing someone wrote, I wanted to be a journalist ages ago, still do, but I don't like seeing bodies and the aftermath of accidents
Oh, hi, Rachel.
and stuff.
Aftermath of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
well, you don't really. I mean, it's been very
Yeah,
few times
we don't
where I
get that,
actually see a body.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't want
Yeah,
to
we
see a
don't get
body
that.
either.
No, me either. Although, it's so funny, Edgar. I know you said that sometimes your guests get off track, and I'm just going to get a tiny bit off track right here.
Yeah.
I do feel, having now working in Los Angeles. So currently, I'm working at KTLA, which was
Uh-huh.
the first the first TV station to do live broadcasts west of the Mississippi.
Really?
I know you grew up watching it because you're from the
I
LA area.
I grew up watching KTLA mainly for a lot of the Munsters reruns, and then also they had one show. It was kind of like a rip off of the Tales from the Crypts. It was called Tales from the Dark Side, and I would stay on
Oh
and
yeah,
awake till like I think 11:30 at night when I was like, so I was like really late, right? But we didn't have cable growing up, so I got to watch Tales from the Dark Side, which
right.
was on KTLA. So a lot of
Yeah.
great movies and a lot of great a lot of great nostalgic memories from KTLA, and that's so awesome that you work there, and so you're out there now, right?
Yeah. Yes. So now we're a CW affiliate, so you get a lot of the millennial shows like The Flash and
Mm.
Jane the Virgin and stuff. So, but anyway, we also have our news department is just a beast. We have this, let me see, 8 hour live morning show. Starts at 4, ends at noon.
Oh my God.
1 o'clock, I know, a 1 o'clock for an hour, a 3 o'clock for an hour, a 6 p.m. for an hour, and then an hour and a half starting at 10 p.m. So I am writing, and now they have the writers edit video. So we're doing double duty. But what has happened is I think working in the LA market, I've become a little more paranoid because, like Rachel was referring to, I do see a
Bodies
lot
and
of, well, not bodies, but mangled cars. And I've seen some
yeah.
really freaky things that happen on the freeways out here. I mean, I was driving behind I guess a gardener's truck once on the 10 freeway, and all of a sudden a shovel just came flying off. Luckily,
Uh,
in the lane next to me, not into my car. But I'm just like, really?
I
So
believe you because I mean like that the traffic out there, the flow, you're either being dragged by it or you're just jumping in and
yeah,
proactively hitting that gas to keep up with the flow. And so it's either
right,
one or the other, in all honesty. So
yeah,
you're either defensive or offensive in the traffic. So
exactly,
I try to
exactly.
I try to be safely offensive when I'm out there visiting family, like even just this past weekend.
You got to do it.
But
But yes, so that's my day job. I know that you are doing double duty to being a news photographer and shooting your own films. I am acting and auditioning as much as I can.
mhm.
But I've had some success. I've been on some decent shows like Agents of Shield, and which was directed by Jesse Bochco, who's the son of Stephen Bochco, who's an amazing he recently passed, but he was
Mm.
an amazing longtime director and show creator. He created NYPD Blue and Hill Street Blues
Yeah.
and all those. But and then I did the Versace show, American Crime Story Versace. I
Mm.
was an ER doctor, and that was created by Ryan Murphy, who's also a beast on the Hollywood scene, creating so many shows. He started with Nip Tuck and Glee, American Crime Story, American History. Is that what it? Oh, American Horror Story.
Yeah.
But that if you want to hear about a quick onset experience, I came home from that shoot, and we're running the gurney down with Edgar Ramirez, who's playing Versace, and this was in the very first episode actually of the show, and they're yelling at us, faster, faster. It's me. I'm the only woman ER doctor,
Hmm.
and it's a bunch of guys, and they're just running the gurney down the hall, and they're like, faster, guys, we need more urgency. So we're doing take after take, and I'm just like running behind it because I can't even catch up. Like the guys who are playing the ambulance drivers were 6'4", and they're just down the hall. And so then from another hallway, they have these nurses joining in who are real nurses. So this is another aspect that I've learned to appreciate being an actor is sometimes they will have consultants from the medical field
Hmm.
helping you to make sure things look real. And so basically in this one scene where we're trying to save Versace, all the extras were real nurses. And they asked because they were throwing all these medical terms at us, to give us dialogue as we're running the gurney down and as we're trying to save him. And it's all these big medical terms that don't ask me to repeat because I don't remember them. And the nurses were like, "Can we say? I know what we would say in this case." And but union rules. No, you guys are not allowed to talk. We would have to pay
Mm.
you. They were there as
Yeah.
advisors, and I know. I know David Greenleaf. Hi. There's a former
Medics
photographer
don't.
now, Tucson firefighter. I know that they don't run down the hallway, but it's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood. You gotta spice it up. You gotta make everything a little sexier, a little
I know.
out of.
But
Let's
wait,
not even
Edgar,
talk about the merging. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sal.
let me just finish the story because the
Yeah.
funniest part was that I got so bruised. I mean, it's like I felt like I needed stunt pay for this scene My husband came home and he was like, "What happened to you?" I just had bruises all up and down my thighs, running into equipment because they didn't care. They just wanted it to look urgent, urgent, urgent. Grabbing the guy, putting him onto the operating table. Anyway, so we laughed. We're like, "Ah, oh, gosh, we need that for my next contract when I play an ER doctor. That I need to, um, that I need to get the stunt pay." So yes,
And
I
speaking,
digress. That was a little tangent. Sorry.
that's all right. That's all right. No worries. So let's go to your response with regard to my post last week.
Oh, right.
One of your responses. So the question was, what are some of the challenges you actors and actresses are seeing? When just in general in the film industry. Like, I just want to hear everything that anybody has to say. And again, it was more responses than I knew what to do with. Yours was very interesting. Yours was something to the effect of, actors and actresses need to remember that part of the job is the auditioning itself. And so the sense that I got was that it's not, or at least from your point of view, it's not just about the gig that you get if you are
Right.
chosen to play a role, but it's also about the auditioning, and that you see that as part of the job. Go ahead and elaborate a little into that, if you could, because
Sure.
for some of those and for many of those who are not actors and actresses.
I there's some stat, and I'm sure it's sort of stretched, but for every 20 auditions, you might get a callback, and then for every 20 callbacks, you might book a role.
Mm.
So but the bulk of your tenure as an actor out here is auditioning.
Yeah,
And, speaking of challenges, getting to the audition is often a big
LA
challenge.
traffic.
And not just with traffic, but then it's someone wrote a play out here once called "No Actor Parking," because there are signs everywhere. No actor parking. Casting offices can be in office, just regular office buildings. They can be in little
Hmm.
bungalows in West Hollywood. They can be on studio lots. They can be wherever, depending on the size of the casting office. They feel the pinch too with paying rent. So you go into an office building parking lot and they know that suddenly there's a casting director that has rented some space all over the parking lot. No actor parking. So you end up parking, 3 blocks away and you're hoofing it. And,
Wow.
if you have to play a reporter, so I get a lot of reporter and news anchor auditions because they like to have that real life experience. And, I'm in my heels and my suit. And if you're in the San Fernando Valley, it's like Tucson, it's 105 degrees in the summer. And I get in there and I'm just sweating and hoping there's a water fountain somewhere. So that's a challenge. But then also, one of my instructors out here told me, or told our class, that your audition begins the moment you get the script. A lot of
Mm.
people will wait and, I have to work or I have to do this or that. And I'll start my memorization later. And David Greenleaf, look at you, reporter, field producer. I ever had. Oh, you're so cute. Um, I could put my glasses on and I wouldn't have to squint. um, but yeah, he says the moment you get the script, your audition begins. You need to read it right away. You need to start absorbing it. You need to start
Hmm.
thinking about the character. And now, I've been through the scenario where my inbox is just full of auditions, and I've had 3 in one day, and then I've been through the periods of having none in 3 weeks. And
Wow.
so I just know that now when I get an audition, it's like, yes, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why don't I come back to Tucson? I still have a lovely home there. I still love many restaurants in Tucson and the weather.
Mm.
But if I'm going to be in Los Angeles, then yeah, as soon as I get that script, I put it in here so that when I am in traffic driving to KTLA, I can think about that character and who she's speaking to, what her point of view is, what her motivation is, there's motivation in every single line and there's intent in every single line. And so you can't just come up with that like that, you know? unless it's a character. It's funny because I knew a guy when I first moved out here, and he had he had many guest star roles, and he was still going to class twice a week. And I said to him, and this was my naivete, I said, why do you still go to class? And he said, it's like exercising. You know, you just have to work out that muscle or the characters. Maybe you in class you play a mother who's lost a child or something, and then when you have that audition, you know how to get there. You know how to get to not only that emotional space, but also you already have in your head what just some of the characteristics that you would need to create that character and make it believable in the casting room.
So what I'm hearing, Sally, is basically a total dedication beyond your traditional, okay, memorize some lines and then go in and
Oh
spout
yeah.
them out, this and that. Because I mean, there's obviously a whole lot more to that. Like you said, to be able to get to that mental and emotional space to where when you are in front of casting directors, yeah, the lines are coming out of your mouth, but I mean, at least my hope, and when people have wowed me, actors and actresses, is when I've seen a very natural ability for it to be real and for it to come from a real place from within, and that is impressive. That's super impressive whenever actors and actresses are able to do that. But here's the thing: the ones that I've seen that are able to do that, that just have that ability, are the ones that go, as I call it, they go deep. They go really, really deep and take the time to go deep with, even if it's just, a line or two, but the way they say it could make all the difference. And so that's what I'm hearing is just a total dedication to the approach. And, it's not just lines in a script and that's it.
Yeah, you absolutely have to have that. You have to have a pretty thick skin. I'm not sure I would have made it too long if I had moved out here right after college. I don't think that I had the the thick skin, I guess is the best way to say it, that I do now, because there's so much rejection involved, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to have so much tenacity, and you have to be willing to study. I mean, being an actor can get expensive. I mean, you need
Yeah.
headshots, and you can't just have a friend take pictures for your headshots. You have to go to a professional photographer, and casting directors can see that. Ever since it was right when I moved out here the first time. So this is my second stint as an actor out here. I was here for 5 years after I left KVOA from 2003 to 2009. I guess that's 6 years. And then just recently came back 5 years ago. And, it's gone from the 8x10 headshots that are dropped off, and there's courier service that agents send out, and to the point that it's all digital. I mean, one of the most popular casting websites it was called LA Casting, now it's called Casting Networks, was just getting underway when I moved out here, and everything was going digital.
Yeah.
So, now there's a tiny thumbnail that casting directors see when your agent is submitting you. So they, pull you in. They can recognize when the headshot is professional and it's not. And I think that's the same way they are too when you step into the room, that they can tell whether you're professional or not just by the way you
Yeah.
handle yourself. And that takes going to class, and it takes building confidence that, let me give you an example of a range of characters I've had to play. I've auditioned for Mother of the Bride. I recently had an audition for a feature film with Jamie Foxx and Brie Larson. And I had
Nice.
to do
Congrats.
thanks. Again, it was an audition, but I was like, you know what? It's on the Warner Brothers lot. I love going on those big lots. And I don't think that'll ever get old, no matter how
Yeah.
much experience I have. It's just like you look around. It's like when I lived in Washington, D.C. right after college. It was like, wow, things are happening on the other side of these walls that are, everybody is going to know about. And I had to have a Southern accent. And the casting breakdown said, we need a legit Alabama accent. And, I always play around with accents. Here at home, we talk in accents. But I happen to have a coworker at KTLA who's from Alabama. And so he was
Mm.
coaching me the night before. And And also, I found there's a lot of YouTube videos that can help. Everything's on YouTube these days.
Everything is on YouTube. That's why I call it the University of YouTube. Tuition is
Right.
free. Anything you want to learn.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, coaching through accents, not only playing the roles that I obviously find the easiest are news reporter and news anchor,
Hmm.
but even you can probably tell the difference. And everyone that we've worked with in news can tell the difference when someone's a real news reporter or a real news anchor. Because, you know, the actor news anchors sit like this, you know, and they're very
Yeah,
stiff. Their
or
arms
also
out in front
let's
of them.
let's
It's
talk
like
on the
news anchors don't work like that.
let's talk about the other side of the camera. I saw Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I can only watch maybe about three-quarters of that
Right.
film because I was like, oh my God, like, you know, you got to be kidding
Right.
me. But I understand, you know, it's sex
Shot at
stuff for Hollywood.
KTLA.
It's made sexy. I saw that. I saw that right
Yep.
outside, and then also the scenes inside too. Um,
The
Reese
anchors
Witherspoon, right?
are real
No,
anchors.
no, 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 not Reese Witherspoon. I'm sorry. What's her name from the night? I forgot the actress's name, but yeah,
Gosh, me too.
I remember seeing that shot outside of KTLA, and
Hmm.
you know, so anyway, like that. Anyway, like don't get me. That's a whole other tangent to not get me going. But let's talk about rejection because
Mm.
a lot of people will, you know, hear the R word, and I think gentleman here, David Greenleaf said he had a great comment right here. Thick skin comes from confidence gained by incremental successes, and oh man, let's talk about that because I think it needs to be talked about.
Hmm.
I feel that it's about the marathon. It's not about the sprint. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people will, you know, have a rejection and say, okay, well, you know, if you're thinking about just a sprint, then it's never going to work because it's not a sprint, it's a
Hmm.
marathon. And so in that marathon, you're going to have a lot of rejections. And so I think the incremental, just as David said, the incremental successes and a lot of incremental failures are just part of the process that if you hang in there, if you stick it out, you're eventually going to have some wins, I believe. And so, you know, I think rejection is part of the process. I think it has to
Hmm.
be part of the process. It'd be kind of weird if it wasn't, in all honesty. I mean, I've, you know, for every one amazing day in the news industry behind the camera, I've had God knows how many hundreds of bad days in the
Right.
news industry, and you know,
Right.
that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. But I mean, so rejection.
The the weird thing about rejection out here is you don't know you've been rejected.
Mm,
You just finally realize you've been rejected when you don't get a phone call and the shoot date has passed, which
yeah.
I mean is probably one of the hardest things to deal with is that they only call the people they book. So,
Don't
you
don't call
know,
us. We'll call you.
yeah, so you literally have to walk in the door, kick butt, do your
Hmm.
best job and leave it behind you.
You have
And
to
I
you have
mean,
to be at peace with it, right?
believe me, that's not always, it's easier said than done. There's a lot
Hmm.
of times that I feel like I'm that, 15-year-old girl in high school again, waiting for the phone to ring, you know, from the favorite guy I want to hear from, or my girlfriend saw a guy that I liked or whatever. It's like you look at your phone like 20 times a day. Do I have an email? Do I have this? Do I have that?
Yeah.
And then you go going online going, when was that supposed to shoot? Oh, tomorrow. Okay. I guess I didn't get it.
Mm,
So you just have to realize that. And like I said, sometimes it's easier to say, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And
yeah.
sometimes you just hang on to that, but that would have been such a great project, either because of the role or because of the people that you were going to have the chance to work with, or the director that you were going to have a chance to work with. So yeah, rejection. It's not fun.
And again, Sally, like on my end, being a photog and an editor, and you know, still on in the indie
Yeah.
film scene, behind the camera, here's what I can bring to the table that is kind of an equal to that. For example, we just submitted to the Emmys about 2-3 weeks ago.
Mm,
Okay,
right.
I've had years. I'll be very honest with you. I've had years where maybe I haven't done the type of story that I would have liked to do. But, you know, I just pull one out of the bag and say, okay, well, I did this one. Here's one, right? And then so you just kind of throw it in there and you say, well, at least I tried this year, you know, and we'll see what happens. Maybe, and if it's not the most amazing story, and if it wins, well then great. But the thing is, at least you tried, but you know that it wasn't your best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the other years. Then you have the other years where you know that the writing was on point. You know that the shooting and the editing was on point. You know that the music and, you know, just everything, you know that it was just a good story. And what I'm getting at is that's when I'm at peace. When I submit pieces and
Mm.
I know
Yeah.
that was a good story and I'm proud of
Yeah.
that story and I did the best that I could and I submitted and whoosh, out of my
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it like that? Because I mean, at least on my end, as a photog and an editor, and you know, as an independent film director, I mean, when I'm putting something together and I put blood, sweat, tears, heart, and soul into it, and I know that I've done absolutely everything that I can do, absolutely everything that I can do within my power, given the resources, the time, the money, etc. If I've done everything that I can do, I'm at peace. I am at peace. And so, is it more or less the same thing? Like, kind of.
More or less. Here's how it's different. Um, you, an actor could kick butt, be totally like give their most amazing performance, totally be in the zone in the moment, um, but they want a brunette. So it's actually a lot of times not based on skill.
Mm-hmm.
It might be based on the overall. I mean, this sort of gets to what you're saying in that it's the overall cast. You
Yeah.
know, how you and they're putting pieces together, and you will end up doing this as a director. I'm sure you probably already have. Like,
I do have a
like
story to equate to this, but go ahead.
okay,
Go ahead.
yeah, like wow, that gal was really great, but we're looking for a Latina for that role. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like okay, so so it is similar, but in a way, it's you know quick sidebar,
Mm-hmm.
Russell Crowe won an Oscar for his role in Gladiator. The
Mm-hmm.
next year, he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor for Beautiful Mind. He was way better in A Beautiful Mind.
Mm-hmm.
Lost to Denzel Washington for Training Day, because that's how I feel about awards, like you're talking about. It's like you
Yeah.
never know what the competition is going to be, so that competition can shape who the awards goes to. But you know, hopefully he knows he was way better in A Beautiful Mind than he was in Gladiator. But you know what? He still has Oscar winner attached to his name for the rest of his life. So
Yeah, and I guess what I can add to that on the independent film side is like, for example, last year with the casting of my feature film, it's romantic drama. It's called All We Have. That was difficult. That was really
mm,
difficult because um, it wasn't just about the skill and the talent that was brought forth, but it was also about the matching and the rematching
mm, yeah,
of what the story needed. And so the final and ultimate decisions that were made, at least on my end, along with the assistant director, were not obviously they weren't personal, but they were difficult because
yeah,
they were heavily predicated on the basis of what the story needed. And
mm,
so that was one of the that was one of the few, like I'd done a lot of casting before for a lot of short films before that, but that was one of the few times where it was that difficult because we had to be so on point and so right with what the story needed
mm-hmm, yeah,
that just I wanted to pull my hair out because you know you're right, it's not it first off it can't be personal, and then secondly it can't make you, like, maybe they wanted, like you said, a Latina, maybe they wanted a redhead, maybe
mm-hmm,
the story needs a redhead. And so it's funny because then you're up against things and odds that you literally have no control over.
right,
And so and you kind of have to be at peace with that too.
right, yeah.
I mean,
I
at least what I've seen on my end. So
I didn't book a Bud Light commercial. Isn't it funny that actors remember jobs they didn't get? Um, but I didn't book a Bud Light commercial that I had a callback for. The director was Michael Bay. Um,
ooh,
we ran out of girls. I was supposed to be a sports reporter, which obviously that was my first job, and they kept bringing in guys. So I auditioned with 7 different guys, and an hour after I left the room, I got put on a veil, which is what they do when they want to make sure that you don't book any other jobs. You're in the top 2 or 3, and we're just going to decide. And oh boy, now my phone battery is dying, babe. Oh, he's not there.
Ah!
Where's my set PA, Glenn Murphy? Oh wait, I have one right here. But all the guys. So it was the scenario was baseball player, and I was in the locker room, and there was a series of Bud Light commercials they were doing a couple weeks ago, but I'm plugged in, so we can't plug it in. Technology. The baseball players were all shorter than me.
Oh.
And I, so I got put on a veil an hour afterward, and then I didn't hear anything all weekend. And I thought, okay, maybe Monday they'll call. It shoots on Wednesday, so there'll be a fitting on Tuesday. I didn't get a call on Tuesday. I called my agent, and he goes, oh yeah, they put out another breakdown to see more actors on Monday. I was like, what? And so I had to make myself feel better about that. I had to make up that I was too tall. And like you say, the things are out of your control, so you just have to live with them.
Yeah. And in this case, it sounds like, I mean, what I'm reading here is that, like, it's really maybe not that you were too tall, but that they were too short.
Exactly.
And oh my God. See, and so again, it's things like that maybe the skill's there. Maybe maybe everything's there, except it's a mismatch of details and whatnot. And ultimately, I can kind of understand, because as difficult as the casting choices were for my feature film, All We Have, that I'm still working on in the can, as difficult as those choices were, they had to be the right choices, or the best choices possible, given the people that came through the door, who I'll appreciate forever to this day in my heart. But they had to be for the story. They had to be on point and for the story, because I couldn't wish for the story to wrap itself around, well, this is what I want. No, it had to be, everything had to be predicated and built upon the story. And so that made for a very difficult combination of choices. But ultimately, I feel that the right choices were made, but super difficult process to get through. And so sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes it's not even that you were not amazing. Maybe you were amazing. It's just so that plays into, like, the whole rejection aspect.
I love hearing that, though. I love hearing that you have a heart. It's good to hear directors have hearts.
Because when I meet actors, I get to meet a lot of local actors here in Tucson, and I meet certain people, and I just think, number one, why haven't I met you before? Number two, I could look at somebody and just imagine, like, oh wow, I could imagine a scene that I could put you in, and I get excited, and you think I'm listening to you, but what I'm really doing is directing a movie as I'm looking at you in my head. And so, you meet people, and you just get excited, and you think about the possibilities, but then, reality comes into play and whatnot of, who you match to, whatnot. Sally, what do you tell all of those actors and actresses that maybe take a crack at it, and they see all of the business complications and the challenges? Because here's the funny thing. Film, and at least on the news side, I can speak on television, I can speak on the news side. The irony of ironies is that it's not glamorous. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. What do you tell people who are in love with the idea or the concept of what they think it will be, versus the reality? And obviously, might be a little bit more of a Debbie Downer type of response. But then, what do you say to somebody like that?
No, you know what? I think everyone should, if someone wants to do it, they should do it, because we all have different levels of tolerance for things. I certainly would tell them, it's expensive to get going, because you need to pay for the headshots, you need to pay for classes, you need to pay to get on 3 primary acting websites that you put your headshots on and you build your resume on. You need to be available all the time, which is just,
A little difficult.
it's like, wait, I have a day job. That's really a night job, but still sometimes you have auditions at 6:30 p.m.,
Hmm.
but everyone has a different level of what they can tolerate, what they're willing to do for a passion, and different levels of passion, I guess. So I would always suggest people try it for themselves because everybody's life and perspective is different. That's why we can make so many films, because there's always a story to tell. So yeah, I would just tell everybody to go for it. I would never be the person that says, oh no, whatever. My set PA is giving oh yes, my set PA has passed me a note. He's getting
Is it
a
saying
raise.
log off? And
No, that's so funny. No, but my phone is dying, unfortunately. He said I should tell anyone who's still watching, and you, Edgar, that I do have a show coming up on Netflix. It's supposed to
Ooh,
drop in the fall. It's
nice.
called Unbreakable, which is based on a Pulitzer Prize winning story of a girl who was actually charged for falsely claiming she was raped. And then two detectives, I think that happened in Colorado, and two detectives from Washington help her prove her story.
Really?
And yeah, and Toni Collette, I don't know if she's an Australian actress. She's one of the leads, one of the
Hmm.
detectives. And a gal, gosh, what is her name? I'm Facebook friends with her now, who's the lead who plays the girl, is on the show Last Man Standing. Now I can't remember her name. Anyway, she's the star, and I play a reporter. So
Nice.
that's dropping
Congratulations.
on Netflix. I know it's a weird. This is a different thing. Is that
Yeah.
the Netflix shows or Prime, any of the streaming shows, they have to shoot and edit the whole show before they can drop it. So this thing I shot last summer, and it's not going to drop until this fall.
Wow.
Whereas Versace and Agents of Shield, I shot those, and I knew they'd be on air in 2 months. So it's interesting seeing how things are changing and
Yeah.
how quickly projects can come out.
Sally, you know what? I'm going to kind of pre-book you right now. I think that's a whole other topic to talk about
Yeah,
with regards to the trends that we're seeing in streaming and digital platforms
sure.
and the way that they release content, how they produce content. So I definitely love to talk to you about that on another occasion. And then also, when it's about to drop, can you go ahead and reach out to me? Because we definitely love to
Yeah,
have you on again and just kind of hear your 2 cents on where you're at that point in your life. And I know it'll be a few months from now, I believe. But
yeah.
I would love to hear from you again with regard to when that happens. Sally, I've
Anytime.
got one, and we'll definitely be in touch about that because I definitely want to touch upon those two things. But one more big topic I want to ask you about.
Hmm.
Is there one standard of success that actors and actresses or people in the film hustle should be living up to, or is success something that each one of us has to define for ourselves? Now, here's why I ask that, because I've met actors and actresses who um, are well into their late 60s, maybe in their early 70s, and they got a late start, or maybe they've been doing it for a long while. The ones that got a late start say, hey, you know what, this is the itch I've been wanting to scratch forever, and they're happy doing it, and it makes their heart burst with joy.
Hmm.
Others of that age say that maybe they've been in the game for like 10, 15, 20 years. One guy in particular that I'm thinking about, and he said to me one time, the fact that I'm still just going to auditions at my age and still enjoying it, whether or not whatever may come, he said the fact that I'm still in the race is the success. And
Hmm.
anything else is just going to be that much of a plus. So he obviously defined his own success, and I really like his definition of his success. His success being staying in the race,
Yeah.
despite whatever may come. What's your 2 cents on that?
Well, I feel this is one industry, especially out in Los Angeles, that ageism doesn't apply. You need, as you know,
Hmm.
when you're casting, you need all shapes, sizes, colors, ages, everything. So yeah, that is totally a personal decision to weigh that. I mean, I know I still enjoy it, even though I've been through, I've had some hills and I've been through many valleys of not just not booking, but not getting auditions sometimes.
Hmm.
But the funny thing is now, so I was one of those late bloomers. I didn't come out here until my mid 30s. I didn't know I wanted to act. And I just feel like what I've noticed is actually the older you get, the fewer people in your same age range at auditions.
Wow.
If we're ever at a casting office and they're casting, mid 20 millennials, like the cute kids. I don't know what they even put down, like hip people, I guess.
Yeah.
um, there are thousands of them, and they all look the same. That does happen with reporter auditions. Like the first time I was here, there was this uniform that was for women, a black blazer and a royal blue shirt. Um, but I've noticed as I get older, I think people do drop out of the industry,
Hmm.
and so there's just fewer, which would increase your odds of getting the role.
Hmm.
So I'm sure there's more roles, especially on television, for the younger kids, but it's the personal preference to
Yeah.
decide when you don't want to do it anymore, when you don't want to face the no actor parking signs anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm not done with it.
Very cool. And then one more topic, because like I just keep on having these ideas as they come to me. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta ask Sally about this and that. So another thing, Sally, is okay. The new explosion has been obviously, like let's talk about the big platforms. You got HBO, Netflix,
Mm.
Hulu, yada yada yada. What do you tell the people out there who and we're just talking about this here. I'm going to pick it up. We have one of the most powerful communication
Mm.
revolutions right here, where you can create
Yeah.
pictures, words, etc., and you can do it all, and it's literally in our pockets. What do you tell the people out there, the actors and actresses out there, maybe the directors who come up with a 5-minute short and whatnot? What do you tell them with regards to using new technology to give yourself that exposure and let the world know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this, this is what I have to offer, whether you're an actor or an actress? I mean, are you for it, are you not for it? I mean, what's your 2 cents with regards to the craft in combination with technology, basically a cell phone?
Right. You're asking the person who couldn't get on Facebook Live. No. Wasn't it James Cameron that said, put a camera in your hand and shoot something, you're a director?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I know I actually just realized this fight is going on, and Steven Spielberg has said, this isn't really a fight. I just mentioned that maybe the streaming services needed different rules about being nominated for Academy
Yeah.
Awards, and
Yeah.
Roma is the example. So
Yeah.
I guess the way the Academy rules are now is that you can open in a theater. So movies have to be shown in a theater for at least 1 week in the LA area to qualify for Academy Award nominations. But you can, if you're a filmmaker who's fortunate enough to get a deal with Netflix, you
Yeah.
can put the movie in theaters and on Netflix at the same time. Um, I love, this is me. Like, I want to get into what you're doing. I also want to start writing and directing my own projects. I do not have a technical mind. If the iPhones are getting so good that they look the same, more or less, to the layperson,
Yeah.
that's great. Because to me, I have creativity when it comes to composition. I don't
Hmm.
want to deal with, like, oh, this lens for that. And, you know, I just want something automatic. I want the composition. I want to focus on the composition and the content.
Hmm.
Is that does that answer your question?
No, yeah, no, it makes total sense. And
Okay.
because of that, for example, I mean, look what if I can only show you what my teeny tiny phone, it's not even a
Yeah.
regular size iPhone. My personal iPhone is actually an SE. It's a smaller version, and that's
Oh.
what we're shooting on. I mean, that's literally
Oh, okay.
we're literally doing, an interview over the phone. You're in LA, I'm here in Tucson. And
Yeah, yeah.
so I think the tech is fascinating, and I've always been a real geek about maximizing the potential that's literally in every single one of our pockets. And so that's why I just wanted to get your 2 cents on that matter, because I mean, I'm all for do whatever you do, especially in this day and age,
Yeah.
because whatever you do, if you're me on my, like, let me give you an example. I had an actress, her and her mom were like, well, she's not really booking. Mom told me her daughter's not really booking a lot right now. And I said, okay, well, it'll happen whenever it happens. Mom says, in the meanwhile, what can we do? And I said, you have a cell phone in your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Film your daughter, put it out there, come up with something creative and ingenious. The audio and the lighting doesn't have to be perfect, but I encouraged her to use this little gadget right here to tell a story and entertain
Yeah.
me, and in turn also continually remind the world, as an actress, in the case of this young actress, I'm an actress, I'm here, I exist, here's what I do. And that's a constant way to remind the world. With me, it's been nothing but social media and nothing but the power of social that has gotten my storytelling, if either in the case of interviews like this, or a narrative short or a narrative feature.
Yeah.
um, I've always been a big believer in the technology, because um, I know that unfortunately there's still this debate of, well, if it's not actually on celluloid film, it's not a
I know.
film. And it's just
Yeah.
like, really, like that goes back to like the mid to early 90s. Like, let's drop that, in my opinion. Let's focus on the potential of what we can do with the little that we have to do, or the little that we can harness, which is like a cell phone. Like, you can shoot and stuff. And so I always like to hit on that, because
Hmm.
guess what? That's the new reality. Even Spielberg address that new reality with streaming platforms, and how the qualifications of, like Roma, like it was in the theaters and on
Yeah.
uh,
Netflix.
Netflix simultaneously.
Yeah.
Bright with Will Smith. That was also a pretty
Mm.
big deal, because that was probably the first Will Smith film that was that big of a deal, Big Willie style, so to speak. But it was not in theaters. It was strictly on Netflix, from what I remember.
Yeah.
And so it begs a lot of questions, and I think it begs a serious conversation of, yeah, at the Will Smith level, definitely, like, what is the future, or is this the new future of what it's going to look like? But I think I think the conversation with regards to technology, cell phones, the web, etc., also heavily applies to people at the grassroots who think, well, I don't have
Yeah.
this camera, or, I don't have a 10, 15, 20, 50, $100,000 budget. My 2 cents, and one of my long-running messages on FILMspiration, is run out there, tell your stories, do your thing,
Yeah.
and to empower people right here and right here.
Hmm.
And I always say, like, if you got to hire power, consult your higher power. But other than that, use my 2 cents, show the world who you are, what you have to offer, and
Yeah.
use all the technology that's at your disposal. I mean,
I
I've
agree.
always said that, and I still stand by that. I'll die saying that, in all honesty. So but I wish I could see more actors and actresses out there doing, creative things, like maybe more monologues. I always enjoy seeing monologues, to see what actors and actresses can bring to the table with regards to their talents. Even if the the acting, the audio, even if the audio is horrible, which I
Mm.
understand, it's a cell phone, but I mean, even if the audio is rough, or maybe the lighting's not quite there, you kind of see past those things, or at least I do, and you're able to at least see somebody who took their cell phone out to show me what they've got as an actor and actress. And I
Yeah.
think that's fascinating. It fascinates me.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Hey, Edgar. So my phone is down to 10%.
Okay, cool. Sally, so here's what I want you to do.
Hmm.
So people can reach out to you. If anybody has any questions or would like to reach out to you,
Yeah.
please direct message me any information that you'd like me to put in the body of the description of the post.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is, we're going to go ahead and end the video. I'm going to repost. I'll tag you, and that way you can tag all the people you want to tag. And hopefully, hopefully people out there will be able to take something away from our dialogue, something away from, you know, what you brought to the table. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, Sally. I really do appreciate your time and your expertise and your input and your knowledge, etc. I really do, because I mean, there's nothing like the genuine experience of having somebody with your input come onto this show to, you know, basically talk and just share what you've got to share. So I really do appreciate that, Sally.
Well, I appreciate you asking me. You know, I love, we have so much in common. We have KVOA. I love Tucson. I miss Tucson. Yeah. You used to watch KTLA. So we're like,
KTLA.
yeah, we're film siblings. We're something.
That's funny. TV and film lives running parallel.
Exactly.
So let me go ahead and do my closing spiel here, Sally. Is there anything
Okay.
else, you know, in total news fashion, is there anything else you'd like to add, or maybe something I've not asked you about?
I haven't had to spell my name on camera yet.
That's right.
And give you my title. No, I wish everybody would follow their dreams. I'm trying to, and again, the not putting up our own walls. Remember
Yeah,
that Eagles song, Already Gone?
yeah.
Just tear down those walls and go for your dreams.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sweet. So let me do my, you know, final closing spiel.
All right.
Everyone, if you got a higher power, please talk to your higher power. Outside of that, whatever your dream is, run out there, make it happen. And if you don't know how to do it, if you want some free knowledge, go to the University of YouTube. Tuition is always free. Hopefully it will continue to be free, from what I understand. And just run out there. Do your thing. Tell your stories. Don't wait for anybody's blessing, anybody's permission. That's all I got for you. And so, and again, Sally's information is going to be, when we repost, we retag everyone, Sally's information is going to be in the body of the description of the video. Everyone, thank you so much. Sally, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time, Sally. I'll be in
Sure.
touch, and I definitely want to hear about when the show drops on Netflix again, and then also future talk on the future of where we're going with regards to Hollywood versus streaming platforms and whatnot.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Peace
Thank you so
out.
much, Sally, and thank you so much, everyone else. And run out there, do your thing, tell your stories. I love you all.